You are lying on a bed of dry leaves inside a dark rock shelter. Your forehead is burning with a raging fever. Your stomach is twisting in agonizing pain from a toxic plant you accidentally ate yesterday. There are no pharmacies, no sterile hospitals, and no chemical antibiotics. If you were a modern human, this situation would drive you to absolute panic. But for 300,000 years, this wasn't an apocalypse. This was just a typical Tuesday for your prehistoric ancestors. How did they survive? They didn't just lay down and wait for death. Instead, they looked around the wild landscape and turned the natural world into a pharmacy of horrors. They used remedies that were bizarre, disgusting, and completely counterintuitive. Yet modern science is discovering that many of these methods actually worked. Let's look at the ancient medical record written directly into the earth. In 2017, archaeologist Karen Hardy at the Autonomous University of Barcelona led a revolutionary study analyzing the fossilized dental plaque of a Neanderthal individual at El Sidrón cave in Spain. When she analyzed the hardened bacteria under a microscope, she discovered something extraordinary. This specific Neanderthal had a massive, painful dental abscess in their jawbone. But their teeth also contained the chemical remnants of two very specific things: poplar bark and penicillium mold. Why is this mind-blowing? Poplar bark naturally contains salicin, the active ingredient we refine today to create modern aspirin. Even more shocking, penicillium is the exact mold that produces penicillin, the world's first modern antibiotic. This ancient human was deliberately eating moldy vegetation and bitter bark to treat a specific bacterial infection. They were manufacturing their own primitive aspirin and penicillin more than 40,000 years before modern scientists discovered them in sterile laboratories. But the prehistoric pharmacy held much stranger and more aggressive remedies than simple plants. Imagine walking through a dense Paleolithic forest 20,000 years ago. You see a hunter carefully scraping a thick, sticky white fluid off the bark of a damaged pine tree. This is raw tree resin. Your ancestor takes this sticky goo and rubs it directly into a deep, bleeding gash on their leg caused by a sharp animal horn. To a modern eye, rubbing sticky dirt-covered tree sap into an open wound looks like a recipe for a fatal infection. But your ancestors understood something profound about nature. Tree resin is packed with powerful antimicrobial, antifungal, and antiseptic compounds designed to protect the tree from insect attacks and fungal rot. When rubbed into a human wound, the resin acts as a waterproof mechanical barrier that seals the cut from outside dirt while slowly releasing chemical agents that kill harmful bacteria. Researcher Michael Huffman at Kyoto University has spent decades studying self-medication in wild primates and early humans. His research confirms that the deliberate use of sticky resins and bitter plant toxins to expel parasites and seal wounds is a deeply embedded evolutionary trait that humans shared with early apes long before recorded history. However, the history of ancient medicine holds a massive, terrifying twist. Plants and tree sap were used for daily ailments, but what happened when a primitive human faced a catastrophic head injury? Around 10,000 years ago, a hunter is struck in the skull by a heavy wooden club during a tribal conflict. A massive blood clot forms under their skull bone. Pressing hard against their brain tissue, they begin to have violent seizures and lose consciousness. Without modern neurosurgery, this person is 100% dead. But the tribe does not give up. They lay the patient down by the campfire. An elder takes a razor-sharp, chipped flint stone blade. They cut through the living scalp and begin manually scraping and sawing a circular hole directly into the solid bone of the patient's skull. This is the ancient practice of trepanation, the oldest surgical procedure known to humanity. Anthropologist David Freyer at the University of Kansas has examined prehistoric skulls from across the globe showing these exact surgical holes. The counterintuitive shock is not that they attempted this brutal surgery. The shock is that the patient survived. Archaeologists can see smooth, rounded bone growth around the edges of the holes, proving that the bone had months or years to heal after the operation. In many Neolithic sites, The survival rate for this primitive brain surgery was over 80%, without anesthesia, sterile drapes, or steel scalpels. Your ancestors successfully relieved intracranial pressure and saved lives using raw stone tools and sheer willpower. This brings us to a strange modern mirror. You live in a world of advanced synthetic pharmacology. You have silver-infused bandages, high-tech targeted antibiotics, and sterile surgical suites. Yet, your modern medical industry is currently facing a massive crisis of antibiotic-resistant superbugs, where modern drugs are completely failing to kill mutating bacteria. Because of this, modern researchers are heading back into the woods. Scientists are actively analyzing the mud, the moldy plants, and the tree resins used by prehistoric humans to find the next generation of life-saving medicines. You look at your bathroom cabinet filled with colorful plastic pill bottles. The chemical formulas inside them feel completely modern, but the basic biological urge to scrape, chew, and experiment with the wild elements around you to fight off death is the exact same survival instinct that drove a desperate human to chew on moldy bark 40,000 years ago.